Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Hearthstone's Rastakhan's Rumble expansion is rapidly approaching and we're coming to the end of the reveal season, only a couple of more days to go. Over the past 2 days we have got 16 new cards again that I'm going to review today. And those cards, well, they include some fluff, but they also include a number of real big finishers. So this is a really interesting set of cards. The first card is not too interesting though. It's a Sightless Ranger, a neutral 5-mana 3/4 rush minion with overkill to summon 2 1/1 bats. So you would kind of like to use this in some kind of a token build to get some tokens going, but because those tokens are dependent on overkilling and you only have 3 attack, then it's kinda hard to activate that effect. Rush is good, it allows you to do something, but I still don't expect this to be good enough to see play. Next up we're getting something more interesting. The new rogue champion. Captain Hooktusk, a legendary 8-mana 6/3 pirate rogue class card with a battlecry to summon 3 pirates from your deck and give them rush. Okay, so Pirate Rogue, they're really trying to make Pirate Rogue a thing. And I could totally see this card as the curve topper on a Pirate Rogue build. You play this, you summon some more pirates, maybe you even have something already on the board. If the opponent has some taunts on the way, then those rush pirates can clear up the taunts and the rest of your pirates that are already existing can go phase. If you happen to pull any South Sea Captains, you will buff up your pirates, including your existing ones. If you manage to pull any Ticket Scalpers, you can overkill some stuff with those. That will allow you to draw cards. If you can find Dread Causers, you might get some defensive prowess as well, because you can get some taunt minions up. Is Pirate Rogue going to run 8-mana cards? I'm not completely sure, but this seems like a very potential curve topper in that sort of a deck. Next up we have some priestly power creep. Seance, a 2-mana choose a minion, add a copy of it to your hand. So back in the day we used to have this card, well it's still available in the wild of course, called Convert. 2 mana, put a copy of an enemy minion into your hand. And this card was not playable at all. It was actually a really terrible card that everyone was very sad to see whenever they got it. But maybe things are different now, because Priest has some synergies with cards that didn't start in their deck, like with the Princess Talanji, battlecry summon all minions from your hand that didn't start in your deck. And also, because now you can choose an enemy minion or a minion of your own. That makes Seance a little bit more interesting, because think about it, Zola the Gorgon. Zola the Gorgon is doing much of the same thing, and what decks run Zola the Gorgon? For example, Quest Priest. So if there's ever a priest deck where you would consider running Zola, that's also a deck that might just switch over to Seance. It's cheaper, it's a spell, and some potential synergies going. So this is actually a playable card, unlike Convert. Blizzard's idea for Druid in this expansion seems to be this kind of hero power Druid that just kill stuff with hero power and nice things happen. I still haven't quite grasped how that's actually going to work out, but they got a new legendary minion. Gonk the Raptor, a 7-mana 4/9 beast. After a hero attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again. So you're able to put this in an odd Druid deck, and then you can have that 2 attack hero power, or because it's so quite expensive you might play this after you have become Malfurion, then you could have a 3 attack hero power. And then if you're facing a token board, then you will just boom 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 kill all of them, even if there's like a Soul of the Forest on those, and then you just go on and you kill everything. And that's just about the only instance where this card is good, right? So I have a really hard time seeing how this whole archetype is going to work out. Maybe there's still something that will make it all come together, but right now it just seems very, very weird and awkward. Bogslosher is a new shaman minion, a 3-mana 3/3 elemental with a battle cry. Return a friendly minion to your hand and give it +2/+2. That's an interesting minion. If you compare it to Zola the Gorgon, Zola, as a battlecry, choose a friendly minion, add a golden copy of it to your hand. So Zola doesn't give the minion a buff, but also Zola doesn't remove the minion from the board, because Bogslosher does. And this means that if you're thinking about something like an OTK Shudderwock build, okay, in OTK Shudderwock what you really want is to get those Grumble copies of Shudderwock back into your hand. And what you're somewhat okay with is getting the Zola copy back into your hand. So if you were to run Box Losher instead of Zola, and then you get one Serenite Chaingun proc, so you have 2 Shudderwocks on the board, and Box Losher returns the copy to your hand, and then you get the Grumble proc, then there's nothing left for Grumble to return. So in an OTK Shudderwock build, Box Losher is clearly weaker than Zola the Gorgon. It might see play in some other archetype maybe, because returning one copy of a Serenite Chaingun back to your hand, you still keep another taunt on the board, and then you have the other one, which is now a 4/5, and then you can play that, or maybe you return a Prince Skeleset to your hand, and then you can play a 4/4 Prince Skeleset with the effect again. And it's an elemental, so there's elemental synergies. So maybe you can find a place for this, but it does take away some of your tempo, and it doesn't work very well with the OTK Shudderwock build. So it's not obvious to me where this card is going to go. Line Cracker is an interesting card that is probably not going to be good enough though. It's a 7 mana 5/10, so this is as much stats as you ever can get for 7 mana. Only Swamp King Dread has more stats. And that's a lot of health to 10 health. And an overkill effect double this minion's attack. So if you have some leisure time and you have time to play this on the board, it's pretty difficult to remove without hard removal. And then it starts trading a little bit, and then it has a lot of attack, and then it can go phase and boom. Or you give it a Wind Fury or something like that, and then it just becomes really, really powerful. But still, it's a 7 mana minion, and when you play a 7 mana minion, you typically want something to happen right there, right then, immediately. And this doesn't do that, and it doesn't have taunt either. So those factors probably mean that this is not going to be playable. Then comes the big bomb, the Undertaker. An 8 mana 8/5 minion, neutral legendary minion, with a battle cry to gain the death rattle effects of 3 friendly minions that died this game. And this is a bomb. This is a real bomb. You really want to be silencing this fellow, because there's so many things. Let's talk about its interactions with a couple of cards. First of all, it doesn't like Carnivorous Cubes. It really doesn't, because Carnivorous Cube Death Rattle summoned 2 copies of the minion that it was destroyed with the battle cry, and no minions were destroyed with the Undertaker's battle cry, which means that nothing is going to be summoned, so that's essentially a blank Death Rattle. However, it likes Immortal Prelate's Death Rattle a lot. Shuffle this into your deck, it keeps any enchantments. And if you get this Death Rattle on the Undertaker, and you shuffle it into your deck, it keeps all the enchantments you cast on it, it also keeps all the Death Rattles. So then you're going to get another set of 3 Death Rattles on top of the 3 you already had the next time you pick this up. So you can snowball Death Rattles if you have this one after an Immortal Prelate. Or maybe you use this with Hadronox, so summon your taunt minions that died this game as a Death Rattle when the Undertaker dies. And you might even combine this with some Astral Tigers which shuffle themselves back into the deck when they die, so then the Undertaker would shuffle itself back into the deck when it dies, and then when it comes back on the board and it dies, and it summons all your taunt minions, and it goes back into your deck, and it comes back from your deck and it summons all your taunt minions, and whoa, the value. That's just very scary things. Silence is going to be so good in the next expansion, because this is something that you really, really want to silence. One other interaction that we already have clarification on is the interaction with Pyros. Return this to your hand at 6/6 that costs 6, but you are going to get a Pyros into your hand if that Death Rattle is on the Undertaker. You're not going to get a 6/6 copy of the Undertaker in your hand, so that kind of infinite cycle is not possible, luckily. But anyway, that's just an amazing card. You could play this in like many kinds of Paladin decks, or like a Taunt Druid deck, or maybe some Mage decks, or just about any kinds of Death Rattle. Death Rattle Rogue, maybe? Would this even fit in some kind of a Death Rattle Hunter? There are just so many decks that could use this one as the final big bomb. if Blizzard is something, they are insistent. And they are now insisting that Spell Priest has to be a thing. Dragon Soul was a miserable failure. It was the worst of all legendary weapons, a completely useless piece of junk. Not because its effect is that bad, I mean the effect is okay, but you have no way to tutor for the weapon, and if you build a deck, you have to build a deck around that weapon, and if you don't find the weapon, then your deck does nothing, and that kind of feels bad. But now, Spell Priest is getting a ton of support in Rastakhan's Rumble. We already saw Grave Horror earlier, cost 1 less for each spell you cast this game, okay, sweet stuff. We had Lyra already from days before, and now we're getting a priest version of Violet Teacher. Sand Drudge, a 3-mana 3/3, whenever you cast a spell, summon a 1/1 zombie with Taunt. So it's 1 mana cheaper than Violet Teacher, every 1/1 it summons has Taunt. So it really helps you build up that sort of Spell Priest archetype, because if you don't find your Dragon Soul, maybe you at least find your Sand Drudge, and then you might find your Grave Horror. So with sufficient number of cards that benefit from spell synergies, that archetype is actually starting to look like it can be put together. And if it's put together, then the worst legendary weapon of them all is actually going to see play. Sand Drudge could also be part of some kind of a token deck, but then you would have to figure out how you buff those tokens. That's generally a big part of token decks. You play Token Druid and you have a Teacher, and then you can Savage Roar and you can Branching Paths. And Priest doesn't currently have anything like that, so I'm not fully sure how that would work out. But definitely Sand Drudge is a powerful card, if it can find the right deck for it. Speaking of spells, Priest is getting another new spell, Regenerate, 0 mana, restore 3 health. Well, obviously works with Sand Drudge, can be played with that one, get some zombies. Can be used with Orkanai Soul Priest to deal 3 damage to any target. Can be used with Shadow Reaper Anduin in order to get your hero power reset again for free and be able to ping some more. I'm not sure if Regenerate is powerful enough of a card, but whenever you have these synergies with Restore Health, and it can also go phase and everywhere, so it's always a card that Priest is interested in, and it depends on what the overall setup is going to be, whether it can actually see play. Another new neutral epic, the Mosh-Og Announcer, a 5 mana 6/5. Enemies attacking this have a 50% chance to attack someone else. And this works like the other ogres and things like that, so that 50% chance does not mean that it can go back and hit a friendly minion. So if you're trying to hit the Mosh-Og Announcer and the effect activates, then your minion is going to hit another enemy target, an enemy minion or the enemy face, but it is not going to hit your own face or your own minions. It's still a fairly interesting card. It has a fair amount of health. Note that the effect doesn't prevent you from killing it with spells, those are not redirected. I'm not sure if there's going to be a place for this. It would have to be something aggressive that really wants to have a high attack minion on the board that the opponent cannot easily remove. But because it's still removable with spells, then I'm not completely sure if that's going to be good enough. Mark of the Loa is a new druid rare spell. Choose one. Give a minion +2/+4 and taunt, or summon 2/3/2 raptors. I think this card overall looks pretty weak. I mean, if you want to summon minions, then you could play Saronite Chaingang. You even get taunt minions for that 4 mana. So the real way that it might see play would be a deck that doesn't want to put these types of minions into the deck. So let's say you're using Oaken Summons, for example, or you have some other reason to play a lot of spells and not a lot of minions. If you want all of your minions to be really big minions, for example, then Mark of the Loa could serve as a card that is a spell, so it's not as good as it would be if it was a minion of that mana cost, but because you don't want to put any minions in your deck of low mana cost, then you want to play this instead. Whether there will actually be a deck like that, I'm not sure, but it cannot really compete directly with minions. You have to have a reason to run spells instead of minions in order to play Mark of the Loa. We're getting a very interesting neutral card. Snapjaw Shellfighter, a 5 mana 3/8. Whenever an adjacent minion takes damage, this minion takes it instead. So, is this going to be good enough? It's very hard to evaluate. We haven't had a card exactly like this ever before. We had Wolf back in the day, which took damage that your hero took. But that was terrible, because then everyone just killed Wolf by hitting your hero. But because this takes damage from other minions, which means that the opponent will either have to hit this or hit those other minions in order to kill this. So the dream kind of is to put Snapjaw Shellfighter next to a stubborn Gastrobot, and then the opponent will have to attack into that poisonous taunt, and everything is going to die, and the Shellfighter is just tanking all that damage instead of the Gastrobot. It also has a lot of health for a 5 mana minion, so maybe it could see play in some kind of a combo priest where you can buff up the attack, and maybe you don't even buff up the attack of the Shellfighter itself, because Shellfighter can also protect your other minions so that they will be there ready to be buffed. It can help you play around board clears, because damage-based board clears are going to deal a lot of damage to this one and save the other minions. There's just a whole lot of options, and this is something that really has to be play tested to truly figure it out, but a very interesting card. Mage is getting a new secret. 3 mana Splitting Image. Secret: when one of your minions is attacked, summon a copy of it. Pretty interesting card. Obviously, if you have some high value minions, you have this. Opponent tries to remove them by attacking you to get copies of that. Maybe there's even some chance to use this together with the Masked Contender, the new card. Battlecry, if you control a secret, play a secret from your deck, so you have more secrets that are not immediately procced, which means that you will be able to use the effect of the Masked Contender more reliably. An interesting card for sure. It's hard to imagine right now what that secret mage deck would exactly look like. But for an archetype that was killed with the Mana Worm nerf, then maybe this can resurrect it in some kind of a form. Speaking of bombs, this is the biggest bomb of them all. The new hero card, the Hunt the Hero card, the only hero card coming in Rastakhan's Rumble. It's Zul'jin. 10 mana, 5 armor, Battlecry, cast all spells you played this game, targets chosen randomly. So if you have played stuff like Spellstones, or Animal Companions, or Deadly Shots, or Crushing Walls, all of that is going to come out at once. Secrets maybe. You can get a Christmas tree of secrets, you can fill your board, and you can kill your opponent's board, all with a single card. And if that's not power, then I don't know what is. Obviously, targets are chosen randomly, so whenever there are targeted effects, kill commands, hunters, marks, flanking strikes, those may end up hitting your own stuff. The key question though is, do you really care? I mean, if you're filling your board with hovers, does it matter that one of those hovers is going to have 1 health? I don't think it does, so there's a lot of potential in this. And of course, it also replaces your hero power with the Berserker Throw. Hero power, deal 2 damage. Not to the face, but anywhere you want. It can go phase 2. It's the Odd Mage hero power. You can start pinging minions, you can start pinging face, you can do whatever you like. This looks like a really strong card. It could go into Spell Hunter, it could go into Secret Hunter. The possibilities. It's just a really powerful card. Combo Disruption. Take, I don't know how many takes this has been, but Mojo Master Zihi, 6 mana neutral legendary minion, 5/5, Battlecry, set each player's mana crystals to 5. So, Druid is ramping up, you don't like that. Mojo Master, back to 5 mana Druid. Mechatoon deck is about to prepare to kill you. Mechatoon is coming, you know it's coming, it's next turn's play. Mojo Master, down to 5 mana, no Mechatoon for you. Combo Disruption, Ramp Disruption. Maybe you ramp yourself first and you play Master Oakheart and you pull a bunch of stuff on the board and then you slam Mojo Master Zihi. How are you going to answer my Master Oakheart now? Ha 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 ha. This is a tech card. It requires a specific type of meta to be good. And I'm still not convinced about Hearthstone's plan to give players some form of combo disruption. It's very, very hard to integrate into a game with mechanics similar to Hearthstone. But Mojo Master Zihi, the latest, greatest in the combo disruption world. Finally, we have the new warrior spirit. Spirit of the Rhino, a 1-mana 0/3 stealth for 1 turn. Your rush minions are immune the turn they are summoned. And if you were thinking, okay, how do I build that rush warrior? Well, this is how you build that rush warrior. Akali the Rhino, rush overkill, draw a rush minion, give it +5/+5, and Akali can be immune the turn it's summoned. Darius Crowley, rush, whenever this attacks and kills a minion, gain +2/+2. This can be immune the turn it's summoned. And because Spirit is stealth for 1 turn, you jam the Spirit on the turn before you want to play these. And then you just rock and roll. Alternatively, you watch it get hellfired, or people start playing Stampeding Kodo or something, but still, that is one powerful effect. There's obviously the downside that the Spirit of the Rhino is a card, and it doesn't do anything itself. It needs these rush minions in order to synergize with it. But the potential of this effect is definitely there. Those were all the new cards revealed over the past 2 days, and within less than 2 days from here we're going to see the entire set, and then it's going to be around a week before we get to actually play it, but this set is looking really, really powerful. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.